Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink was another ink that was requested for me to review. It's Diamine Marine. However, my camera seems to be turning it kind of seafoamy green, so I will attempt to correct it in post. However, if that means that some stuff in the background doesn't look quite right, it's because I'm trying to show this ink as accurately as I can. So, there may be some adjustments around that. But yeah, I shall fix it in post. Now, have it in sample form. It is a blue with a little bit of green in it, but not nearly. Yeah, you see, that's a lot closer. That, at least on my screen right now, this is much more blue. This is coming out much more green. So yeah. But anyways, the two pens I used were these. This is a Knox Avicenna in broad, and this is a this is a Schaefer 100 with a medium nib. However, it's a very moderate nib, and it writes more like a fine. In fact, I don't have it here right now. It's a different chromatography. Oh, yeah, it's a Roaring Klinger Leipziger Schwarz. Yeah, so this is much more like a fine. It's very easy. It's not wet, it's not dry, it's not broad, it's just very... So, yeah, nice comparison there between the two. Let's check out the chromatography. Now, this is the chromatography as you're supposed to do it, where you put a line of ink and instantly drop it in the water, and I don't know about you, but I can't tell where that initial drop was. So yeah, you can see it's slightly more green through here, but it's, I mean, for the naked eye, it's barely noticeable, and then it's much more blue up at the top, and that's just gone. And here's where I let it dry, which is not how you're supposed to do it. I think barely, and actually the camera's catching it a little bit more. You can see where that initial drop was, but then there's lots of nothing, slightly more green, and then blue up at the top. So not a lot of water resistance. I wanted to see what this could hold up against. So, yeah, there's people walking around outside. As you can see, the water really broke it up. It's really, really gone. Denatured alcohol did absolutely nothing, but that's why I stopped testing it, because it didn't do anything. Hydrogen peroxide actually broke it up a fair bit, and more than water. Water seemed to move it around. Ammonia pen flesh really, I don't know if I can convey it on camera, but really broke it up. And then but because of the chemical nature of it, sort of seeped back into the page as I was trying to dry it. But I imagine it'll get out of your pens really well. And then 1/3 bleach solution, you can't even tell it was ever there, which is almost terrifying. And yet amusing. So I wanted to see if I could find some comparable inks. Now, I don't know how this is going to work with me doing the color correction, but anyways, here goes nothing. Here's Diamine Marine, and here's Schaefer Green, which is actually a little bit more blue in real life, but separates more. So like this bit will be more green, and this bit will be a little bit more blue. So anyways, that was fascinating. Diamine Steel Blue, which is actually a little bit more green, amusingly, but still quite similar. And then Diatomentus Mint Turquoise, which is definitely more green, but still got a lot of blue in it. What's next? Oh, Parker Blue Black from the Quink series. It definitely has a lot of green in it, but this one is mostly blue, and it's mostly green. You see more green like through here. So yeah, but thought I'd toss it in anyway. And then Diamine's Dark Green, which is really just very light green with some hints of blue. So actually those don't look quite right at all. So why did I include that? Anyways, that was weird. Anyways, on to the paper test. Top diamond density, Clairefontaine, 90 grams per square meter. I really hope this comes through on camera, because it's got some great shading. It has a richness to it. It's very bright. It's very vibrant. I hope I can still capture that on camera after I do the color adjustments. But yeah, you see how, and it's a subtle shading. It's not like very severe line of like, this is that, that is that. There's like a graduatedness there. It's very nice. And even though it can get kind of thin, you know, in any spread when you do the smeary thing, it never looks undersaturated. It's got enough ink in it. Now that Schaefer medium that writes more like a fine took 8 seconds, but the broad only took 13. And it was mildly wet. I'd say it's maybe a 6 out of 10. And actually, I really liked the way it looked in the broad. But again, I am very partial to broads myself. So, you know, slight halo effect, but just really lovely. I quite enjoyed this. I bought it because I was like, I need another ink to test. But I found myself quite enjoying it. And as that chromatography kind of alluded to, yeah, not a lot of water resistance. Really not a lot. It's really, really gone. Dyed the page a little bit, and good luck trying to read it, because I wrote it, and I don't know what says that. What that says. But yeah, not a lot of echo, which I wouldn't expect, because this paper's very dense. The ink's fairly light. But yeah, so, well behaved. No bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen. Now, I don't have any Fabriana for this. And actually, I don't know why. But yeah, we're moving on to Rhodia. So here's the Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter. Here, oddly, the shading is a little more abrupt, but it's because we get sort of a bit of this halo effect. See that? It's kind of nice. Now, the fine that writes more like a medium took 8 seconds, and the broad only took 12. And, oh no, that's not feathering, that's a fingerprint, which I think there are actually a couple of on here. Yeah, I kept putting my fingers in it. Anyways, I found myself really enjoying the color. There's this generally kind of soft shading where you don't lay it on super thick to try and get some sheen, which was rather nice. Well behaved, and there's no bleed, no feather, no spread. Yeah, I don't think there's any echo. I say that there might be some in the broad, but I really don't see any, even in the scrubby. So, yeah. And then again, I hope this will show up. Yeah, the water, it's really gone. There's just this gentle haze of blue. Or not even blue, it's the same color. It's really gone. It's real gone. Yeah. Now, next up is Tomoe River paper, which is known for bringing out shading and sheen. Also dry times, and also echo, because it's just so darn thin. But I feel like here you really see the breadth of shading, because you can see how light it can get where it's thin, and how dark it can get when you really lay it on heavy. And yet, even at the lightest parts, it never looks undersaturated. It never looks like it needs more ink in this ink. And that's really pleasant. And the color, I was also quite enjoying it a good bit. And then I already know I'm not going to be able to get it on camera, but I'll try. See this halo, this dark halo around this? There is a black sheen where you lay it on really thick. Yeah, I'm not going to get it because it's very small. And, I mean, black sheen, that sounds contradictory, but trust me, it's there, and it's very pleasant. I like shading, personally, and I like these halo effects, and we definitely have it here. You can see it, especially in the broad, that dark outline. Now, I did draw out dry times, but not much. That medium that writes more like a fine, the Schaefer, only took 11 seconds, and the broad only took 16, which, I mean, this is a mildly wet flowing ink. It's very decently saturated. That was a broad pen, and yet on here it only took 16 seconds. Lovely. However, because this this paper is so darn thin, if you are very sensitive to echo, maybe be aware of it, especially in that broad where I was laying it on thick to try and get some sheen if I could. But echo's always to taste, so yeah. But yeah, well behaved, of course, because Tomoe River, no bleed, no feather, no spread. There's maybe some echo. And this paper loves to let ink slide away when you add more water, and that is most certainly what happened here. Let's see if I can keep it from glowing. Yeah. I mean, that Schaefer is absolutely gone. You only get the barest hint with that broad. And you can tell which dots and lines are which. Oh, look at that. In the center, you couldn't even tell there was anything there. Ooh. Now, for the next 3 tests, to be fair, I only used the Sheaffer 100 except to write the name. Now, this is the world's worst 20-pound copier paper. It's so awful. Now, I want you to look at the spread. You see the line width here versus here? You see how much broader the line gets? I hate this paper. But yeah, and you lose all shading. All the shading is gone. However, it soaked into the paper almost instantly. Like, only the tiniest little bit of that last tick went over. But yeah, the broad, and it's very woolly. You do get some feathering, but it's just a very intense woolliness still. Yeah, I'm going to be doing that all day. Sorry, knocked the camera. Now, you can see by how light this is, it never got all the way to the other side. However, at a few points, it kind of wanted to. But yeah, even the broad didn't make it all the way through. So there's that. That's encouraging. If you really like, it's still so vibrant, this color. It's very bold. It doesn't get dulled by the absorbency of the paper, which happens sometimes, so that's nice. This paper did do something weird though. So when I put these drops down, it actually soaked them in, and I almost started to act like chromatography paper. So like seconds after I put the water down from the syringe, I could see it spreading, and I like grabbed my paper towel and I was like, oh crap. Because it just started, I was like, oh god. And kind of the same thing happened here. You can see it spread all the way down to the bottom and actually started pulling the water up, acting like a chromatography test. So while there is something there, I mean, I wrote that and I can barely W-A-T-E. I don't know which ones those are. But yeah, it feathered, it exploded, it mooshed together. Yeah, that would be the opposite of fun to try and recover. Next up is Mead Notebook Paper, where it didn't spread nearly as much. See how the line width didn't get as broad? There is some woolliness, but I don't know if I'd call that feathering. More like an intense woolliness. But yeah, there's no shading. The ink color, however, is still very vibrant. It's very bold. 1 second to dry. Yeah, there was this though. Again, it didn't get all the way through. You can tell because it's still so hazy. However, this paper is very thin and it's very cheap. It's given to school children in the United States. But still, I mean, I feel like even still, comparatively to the 20-pound, like, I don't know. I feel like it did pretty well. However, this paper does tend to react a little weird when you add water. And that's kind of what happened here. Not as bad as a 20-pound, though. It didn't start acting like chromatography paper. It just sort of started exploding, and it got a lot lighter. Not be fun to read, but still not as bad as that 20-pound paper. That was insane. Lastly is Moleskine paper, which I hate, because it's awful. It's the bane of my existence. It is my nemesis. I don't know why. I don't know why I ever paid this much for it. But anyways, yeah, very woolly. Look at that scrubby. You see how, that texture? See that? Those like little mushy bits? Ugh. And then there's feathering. It's just this really icky, and you kind of get shading, but not. Okay, now it's just easier to see in this broad. You see all that feathering? You see that all throughout. It's just easier to see there. Ugh. And 5 seconds to dry. I don't know why. Obviously, it's very absorbent paper. It's soaked in. Just took its sweet darn time. Anyways, not nearly as much spread. However, I feel like it's spread a little bit more than the Mead, but now it didn't bleed through even in the broad, but you get these like all throughout. You get these little bitty dots, or you can kind of get a hint of it from the other side. So meh. And then this water test was totally bizarre. It didn't dye the page, but it feathered and exploded about 10 times as much, and it got lighter. And I don't know what's going on. I would not want to try and recovering that, but bleh. Yeah. So, anyways, there you go for your consideration. Diamine Marine by request. I will be doing some color adjustments before posting it. I will do my best to portray it as accurately as possible. Hopefully my skin doesn't come out looking like a Cheeto or something, because color adjustments are weird. If not, worst case scenario, I will try and add in scans. Because they were a little choppy last time, I will add them at the end. So, yeah. Anyways, there you go. There's Diamine Marine for your consideration from the Triple N Network. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.